Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Joshua, or Jenkins, or whatever my name is. Well guys, past couple videos, interesting were they not? Hope you got something out of them. If you didn't, you know, whatever, that's it. Man, oh man. Okay, so I'm kind of in this like spell, I guess. I don't want to call it a rut, but like I'm always in these sections of life, and inside these sections of life, I'm gonna frame it in the process of putting the Harrius Codex onto this channel. So in between all that, I'm not doing a whole lot of work because it's already written. Okay, all I have to do is put that onto the channel. But I have to make sure I write every once in a while, and so I have a lot of like things I don't even know. I have so many stacks of paper here, little short stories, little interesting things, just to kind of work out the muscle and make sure I'm on. And when you work out the muscles like that, sometimes new things develop, and I'm like, oh my god, this could be a story of its own, or this would be very interesting if I did that to it, or if I did this to it. And it's crazy, you know? The older I get, the more I do this, the more I live my life, the more I become flabbergasted and astounded by just what words are. Words are fucking insane when you really think about it. I'm taken by them a lot of the times. I'm always just like, God, this is crazy that this all exists. And I remember hearing once, human beings don't think, supposedly, in words. They think in images and sound. We don't imagine words when we do our thinking. And it is very interesting that language has been invented long time ago, written language, I'm saying, and we still continue that idea. And it's insane when I sit here, and I have right here my typewriter in front of me, and it's like smacking letters together to form concepts, to form words, to form ideas, and to form structure, and an opinion, and a belief system, and an imagination. It's astounding, you know? Like, I really think in our modern era, we just take this so fucking for granted that even what I'm saying now is like, okay, yeah, whatever, you know, we're fucking words. But dude, it's crazy. It's already crazy enough that I'm making random sounds with my mouth, that I've learned how to do it in a uniform way, that you can understand what I'm fucking saying. You can understand the depths of me by me shooting it out to you. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're interpreting with your own mind, so you're not necessarily hearing me, you're hearing me as you think you're hearing me, which is pretty fucking crazy. But then I show you written words, and it's like that, but it's on a different level. It's like you're hearing yourself reading something that somebody else put in here through the channeling of their own mind. It's like weird. It's so weird when you think about it. And I really believe that we take it hella for granted. But there's this thing that people really like, and that is, so on my channel, let's go for that. More people would rather watch these videos than my Forgotten series, for whatever reason. I couldn't tell you why, that's just how people are. I think there's a little bit of fear in watching those kind of things. I think there's an idea of investment that people don't necessarily want to do. They'd rather take the easier route. And what's easier, walk into a room where a guy's bitching about life, or listening to a story that's depths are so fucking foggy you don't even know what's going on? It's probably easier to do, you know, the first one. I can never remember the latter, the former. I always fucking hate that language stuff. So I totally understand it, you know. I get it, but at the end of the day, for me, you know, this is just the fill time. The writing is what I really want people to know. You know what I'm saying? This is just whatever. But again, I come back to language, I come back to words, I come back to getting something out. And I've thought long and hard about what the hell it is that I'm actually doing. For a long time, I'll sit and dwell, like, what is exactly that we're doing here? When it comes to the Forgotten series, when it comes to the Harius Codex, when it comes to our written work, what is that? And for the longest time, I could not tell you. I'd just be like, you know what I mean? You've seen the past videos. I'm just always like, I don't really know why I'm doing this. I don't know what this is. This is just shit that's happening. So I couldn't grasp what was happening to me. And as I was thinking that way, I always kept my toe in, mythology in our world, psychology, gosh, you name it, man. Like other people's works, listening to lectures of esoteric stuff, mythological perspective on things, or even comparative mythology, comparative religion. You name it, man. Like I always try to keep my foot in all these things just to get a pulse on the world and what is happening outside this world that I seek to do with myself. Because it's interesting when you take an inner journey, and you take a journey down your own mind, sometimes looking out in the world around you and realizing, how would you word this? Like, how can I find within myself something and then show it to another? At what tool do I need to use and invoke with the other? Okay? That was difficult to try to discover this, to say, what is my own internal mythology? What does that mean? What does that represent? But then how do I take that, and here's everything else that I've learned about society, and how can I fix it in here so you know what I'm talking about, you understand what's going on. And that's been very difficult. Because within mythology, there's cultural stories, there's stories about with your humanity, as in like what you should and what you shouldn't do. There's stories about heroes, there's stories about kings, there's stories that are legitimizing rules, lineages. But not only that, there's stories of teaching people about their society, about their governance, or about their... I always go to the Greek one, like what civilization means and how important it really is, and what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a Christian, what it is to be a God-fearing Greek, Mythology plays such a vast amount of roles that as I wonder about my own, I'm like, there's so many roads in this, but what does it stand for in its entirety? We take mythology, we understand there are so many different things that it does. From culture to politics to individual ideals, and it's like, well, what do you distill that as? What is mythology distilled to? And one obvious one is, well, stories of these people and their lives and their belief systems and all that, and what does that all mean? And there are a lot of people who study this stuff scholarly, so I can't, those are the people that can give you great answers to it, but I sometimes think they miss the point. They focus too much on it. They take away the spiritual side of it and they only look at it historically. You know what I'm saying? It's very interesting like that. I listen to a lot of these mythological scholars and I just really feel like they miss the point. They really do. It's like people don't just tell stories simply for some material purpose. There's always a deeper meaning behind it. I'm a firm believer of the idea that what we do now is the same thing we've always done. It's just different looking. We're wearing different clothes, we're using a different language, we're using different tools, and we're using a different understanding, but the core of it's the exact same. So I tell myself that in order to look back at mythology and wonder, like, what exactly is it trying to say? From the Odyssey to the Mabinogi, the Book of Invasions, or the Indian one, the Bhagavad Gita, or whatever. All these different I'm trying to say, like, what exactly is this? And how can I look at it as a human, not as a historical context, not as what they would have thought at the time? And because that stuff, you know, I appreciate scholars in the sense of what they're trying to do, but again, I think they miss the point a lot. They're focused on like scientifically almost the details of, like, at the time, and they lose the plot a bit. So it's been my journey to try to uncover what exactly is a story, and why exactly do we tell it as a people? You know what I mean? As an entire group of people, and I'm thinking mostly Indo-European, up to, like, you know, the Germans and the French and the Irish and the English and, you know, Welsh and all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking more in terms of that. Like, I could not go to the East. I wouldn't even begin to know. I could barely understand Indian, you know? So, in my idea, I'm like, what is it about stories, and what's the reason behind humans telling them, more than, what do they say, like fantasies and fairy tales and children's stories? Like, it's more than that. So what is it then? What exactly are we doing this for? And the reason I ask that is because I asked myself, why exactly are you writing this? What is your point here? And it's so difficult to answer that question because you don't know how much evolution of thought is effective. Meaning, if I read a modern story by a modern person, am I going to find that same kind of idea 2,000 years ago? Or do people's minds not work that way? Do they not work that way? Or is that kind of stuff lost to time? We just don't get it anymore. That's difficult to really answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at my writing. Can you find anything like that 2,000 years ago? Did someone like me exist, the way I think and how I perceive the world? Did that exist? And with those questions, I begin to really unravel. So, you know, beginning with Greek work is the easiest one. How much we base everything around a building up of a certain point. From the Greek ideal, so Persian really first, you know, and Greek, and then going into Roman. And then when the Romans fell, society rebuilt itself, petty kingdoms and fiefdoms and, you know, all that stuff happened in the medieval era. But it has a core of Christianity in it. So I think Persian, Greek, Roman, Christian. All of that has created almost the setting point or the foundation of man's mind, and he is stuck in that. No matter how far he tries to stray, he's still in that. One example is modern folk horror. You know, movies that are about paganism, right? Like the Burning Man, what is that one called? The Wicker Man. That's a very famous folk horror story. Going off in the woods, finding people doing weird things with old gods, and the old gods are always evil and demonic. Even trying to come to your past again, you still look at it like a Christian. That paganry is demonic worship, and these old gods are evil. As much as you're trying to escape Christianity, you're still using the lens of Christianity to look back there. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, no matter how hard we think, we're still lodged in the concept. We're still lodged in the idea that's built upon by these ancient civilizations up into the idea of Christianity, which is like the new empire of mind. And we're inside of that. And to get out, it's like, this is what I've been experiencing. To leave all that behind and say, okay, over here now, and I'm off. You're like floating in the void because there's no human structure in there. There's no thought form that's created for you to go. Now, don't get me wrong, outside of all of that, definitely, are different, we could say, floating islands on the sea of consciousness. You know, this is esoteric stuff. This is this stuff. That's that stuff. Here's science. Here's this. Like, there's different islands of your mind to go. I always think of thought forms as islands and consciousness. Like if consciousness was a vast ocean, here's Christianity, here's this, here's that. But the massive one, it would be civilization that encompasses all those things. These islands are birthed from it. And when you go down the road of self, you leave all that behind and you're just floating on the ocean in your little ship. And it's like, well, I don't want to look at things like a Christian or like a Muslim or a Jew. Well, I'm going to leave those. Or I don't want to look at it like a historian. I don't want to look at life like an American or a theologian. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or like a scholar or a historian. These are islands of thought. Because when you're inside it, you have to obey the rules of it. That's how thought forms work. If I want to be this thing, I have to follow all these rules. If I want to be an American, here are all my rules. If I want to be from that all the way down to historian, well, here's how I have to work. I can't just make assumptions. I have to work within their rules. Those are thought forms that you exist in. And for my journey, I'm trying to go away from all that and write a mythology that's separate from those things. And since that's happening, it's been very difficult to try to take what's coming to me and give it to you where you know what I'm talking about. And so sometimes I still have to dip my toe into this shit. Like, for instance, the Harius Codex. It's very confusing. But what I'm trying to show is this very idea. And it's kind of structured through the idea of memory and what memory represents and what it is. And as it goes on, things will kind of become more clear as the story goes on. It's going to be a little bit more honed in, if you will. But what I'm presenting is what happens when you just leave everything behind and you go off into the wilderness. So that's a great representation. The vast ocean of consciousness, the deep dark forest, the wilderness. Those are ideas that are, here's some place that is separate from you, that has its own rules, its own life and death situations. It has its own ideas of what it is, and it doesn't give a fuck about you. That's the ocean, that's the wilderness, whichever one you like more. That's what that represents. If I leave behind everything I knew, and that means it's an island of thought, I have to sail into unknown waters, or I have to venture into the deep dark woods. And what happens? I don't know. There's no maps, so I can't say where I'm going to land. And a lot of the times you'll land on other thought ideas. You go off, you break away from Christianity, and you might stumble into atheism. You might stumble into, I don't know, you get into something else really deeply, and it becomes kind of your religious circle. Whatever that is for you, I don't know. That's just going off and finding another island, And for me, I like it to look at it kind of like a Greek, island hopping. It's like, well, I don't want to be here necessarily. I'm just going to kind of dock here. I'm going to learn what I can. This is 17th century France. Very interesting. And then I go off and boom, that's the Mabinogi. Oh, that's a Welsh medieval written down mythology about their origin. Very interesting. Let's go off to the Odyssey. That's where I'm at. I'm island hopping to different ideas. And these ideas, let's get back to the fucking source of this, are used with language, with words. In my case, I'm learning of these things, like here's the Mabinogi right here. I'm learning, here's Argonautica. Here's the story of Xenophon, the Persian expedition. Here's a book called The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Gibbon, portable version. Here is, right here, The French Revolution by Lefebvre. I have a history of France here. All these different ideas are written by certain people, either a group or one author, and they're conveying something to you that you really need to know. Whatever they think that is. This Gibbon here really thinks you need to know about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. He's like, you've got to know this, and I will write it down. And by the way, this is an abridged version. I will write it down and I will tell you about it so you can learn. You need to know this. Xenophon here was like, I'm going to tell you about my expedition. You need to know about that. You need to know what happened to us when we went over there. And then we had to retreat all the way back. So for you, it's to decide what's important, what's not. And as you're deciding that, a lot of the times people will kind of come to their own conclusions that sometimes are so crazy. I remember the conclusion of like, one time I looked up Irish history on YouTube. I don't remember how I typed it in, but I said Irish history or something. And the first thing I got was a kind of black version of Irish history where the original Irish were blue-eyed black people that lived there. And here's all the proof of why that's real. And you're like, what the fuck? And that's everywhere. With everything, okay? There's those kind of people that exist. What did they call them way back in the day? I don't remember if this is the Victorian, but they were like the, I forgot what they were called, but they were trying to say that like Irish history, like they descend from like Noah and all that. I don't remember what they were called. Not the Jacobites. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of them. I don't know. But like they were their own group doing that and saying like, no, we're going to write a whole history and say we're all descendant from biblical events and stuff. And I don't know. But my point is, you can make anything real that you want if you try hard enough. Trust me. I can make up a whole history and be like, and look how real it is. Here's all the proof you need to know. You know how people are. They're willing to do anything to justify their own experience. And I saw that in my world around me as I'm floating around, looking at my bookshelf here, saying like, oh, here's the medieval history. Here's the history of the Masonic temples and the Masons. Here's all these famous works. This is, I don't know, all these different authors that exist. And here's this and here's that and all these different ideas. And I'm like, well, I don't want to prove my existence, my heritage, my belief systems through all their work. I just want to know what's out there. But what becomes the hardest thing is when someone's like, okay, you've read all these things. What do you believe now? You read them all. And a lot of people will say, I believe what this guy said, what that guy said, what this guy said, and what that guy said. And that's me now. I believe all these little things. The world is this, says I. And here's all the proofs of these different peoples. And that's what humans will do. That's just what we are. It seems like you can't exist on your own. You can't be on an island of your own. You can't say, fuck all of that and I want to be me. Because sometimes when you're doing that, it feels as if my thoughts leave you and you turn into like a shriveled nothing. Because there's nothing for you to kind of judge and to create in your head or to alter or to say, yes, I agree with, or no, I do not. And you're just like, this is what I experience. With lack of human interaction, you're almost like, I don't even know what to think. I don't know how to think. I don't even know where to begin with my own stuff. Because I learned I have to bounce off of other people. I have to work with people with my best art. Being from in a band, to working in my mythology, to doing these videos. I have to work with other people. Whether that's through their work of long dead men, or friends of mine that are helping me along the way. We're social creatures. So how can you truly be your actual self if we're so social like that? If language is so that deeply ingrained that we feel the need to connect with other human beings so deeply that we have to agree to a language. Like, okay, the means this, that means that, and these are all the words. Now you know what I'm saying, and we can talk and know each other. I can read... Again, like it was translated to English, I know. But I can read long dead men so long ago, it's unfathomable that I can hear his story. Xenophon and all that. Like, that's crazy. Or Gibbon, 1700s. That's still a long fucking time ago. Long dead people still guiding me to this day and teaching me. How the fuck can you have an island of your own if that's all this world is? How can I have my own original thought? Why do I ask this? What did I say in the last video? Where was the last? To go deeper and deeper and farther into yourself. More and more. Deeper, deeper. Until you come to the true self, the little I. That's where the truth will lie. How do I do that when it's... I get what the dream was saying. You got to go beyond all these things of other people that made you. I believe this because Gibbons said it. I believe that because I'm an American. I believe this because I'm Catholic. I believe this because, you know, all these things that made you that are outside. When you go beyond that and you're just, boom, in the fucking void, and you're supposed to be like, and the truth is, as you look around at nothingness, I don't know what the truth is. The truth is nothing. And that's the journey. This is the odyssey that we're on right now on this channel. And I'm trying to tell you, like, this is why sometimes it's difficult. But for me, that's what the Harrius Codex, which will eventually turn back into the Forgotten series, is me fucking doing that. And all of a sudden, Dove is sitting there in the vast fucking cosmos, and he's like, I'm God. Are you? Yeah, I'm Harrius. I'm God. Boom, flashes to the Harrius Codex, and like, oh, but that's God over there, a dying vessel that you got to go in and help him remember again. What the fuck is this about? And to me, my Harrius Codex is what I'm doing here, but in a mythology. I'm using language to try to fucking explain to you, like, how fucking crazy this journey is of, like, truly knowing self. Cutting everything away, save unlearning language and saying, well, I will make my own language because I will be my own self. Like, besides going that fucking far, which I'm imagining you can do, I don't see the benefit of it, but you could totally do it if you wanted. And this is where we happen to be. For me, the only way to navigate this and to be sane is to understand everything I just said, but come to terms with the idea that I can island hop. If I need to understand people, I'll go to their islands. I'll go to the Protestant island and hear what they have to say and just try to understand them. I'll go to the Democratic island or the island of America concepts and shit. I'll do that. Rock and roll and fucking foodies, you know, different ideas that people have of what it is to be. I learned that I can do that. I'll just navigate, you know. I can be the layman. I can be the journeyman of life and listen to all these different things, you know. In the comment section, sometimes people will say something so outrageous to me, so ridiculous or so profound and everything in between, that I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, I don't fucking even know how to begin to understand what this person's talking about. But I'll make note of it and I'll just put it in a pin in that, and we'll come back to that, or I'll try to evaluate it along the way in the journey, you know. It's just, it can really be difficult to try to keep a stable course when you're island hopping like that. Belief systems, arguments, people's thoughts, people's work, whole thousands of years of history that's bigger than you, and you should believe it because we are Americans. This is bigger than you. You know, you should be proud of that. You know, things from that all the way down to, like, this guy's work is so great, his fantasy is amazing. All these, like, it's hard to sit and navigate that, and then, like, what do you do when you're at home? Who are you when you're at home? I am me, and we are we, and I don't know how that Beatles song goes, but I'm just having to grasp the idea that that is the external world, and my job is to really explore the internal one, the internal self world. We'll go 3 on this one. That's quite difficult. You gotta have a stabilizing force, and I'm sure the dream's telling me, like, hey, like, this is your life that you're trying to do. You need to find something stable, that little I. Because if you don't find that, like, you can lose your way again. You can fall into these worlds. I always think of, like, these, I call them islands a lot, but it could be like other dimensional thoughts, really. Like, it's, if you think of like a dimension, not in terms of, as we understand as humans, but just an unfolding area. You know, like, look at an old map and just imagine that's just people's thoughts. Well, this landmass is that thought. This landmass is this one. And sometimes they connect with each other and trade back and forth, you know, like Protestant to Christianities. They're trading back and forth, you know. Sometimes they're at war with each other, like Democrat and Republican, you know. Like, they're just thoughts that you can exist in, and you can live in it, become a member of that society, and because of doing that, your life becomes easier because, well, this, to be a Democrat is all this. There you go. Not a big deal. You read that, and then you grab the Christian, and then you grab the small town, and then you say, okay, I'm all these things, and then I'm gonna be, I'm in MIT. That's that too. And so, and you take all those, and that becomes you. Does that make any sense? You are all these different things, and all I'm trying to do is unravel that to the point where I'm sitting there naked and afraid in the dark, going like, now what? Where do I go? It's a journey, man, and that's the whole point of all this. Like, this is why I listen intently to these dreams, because they're clearly telling me things. There's a section of myself, whether you want to believe like Terence McKenna, where it's like, oh, there's DMT and there's this machine elves and all this and that, and I'm like, dude, that's the imaginary. I know you're explaining it in such a way, but that's the imaginary realm, Terence. You know, clearly. If you want to look at it that way, are those external from you? Are they ancestors? Or is that all in you? I think that's one and the same, personally. So for me, it's like, well, when I try to grasp that, where do I go? And, you know, it's tiring. I'll bring it back to the original idea of this. Like, sitting down in front of this typewriter here, there's an array of letters, a keyboard, an array of letters just sitting there. QWERTY, ASDFG, ZXCV on that side, you know, they're just all sitting here. And it's like, okay, if I put these together in a way, some kind of thing will happen. What happens? On this session, it says, the uniform change of those times which we find ourselves in. I could call them good, but in reality, they were nothing like I ever saw before. I knew that going in, but there was that quiet trepidation, one that was met by the darkness that clouded my heart. I knew you would find me there, and so I waited. I waited for your labored breath as you passed down these endless halls. To match the might, you matched the might, but could you match the integrity? Remember, those were the words you last said to me, while you left me alone adrift through the cosmos. Well, here I am now, and here we are together on this desolate planet, taking shelter from that raging storm within this cave. One which holds us together, but has long ago divided us. For it was here I learned to leave you from my mind. It was here I was truly born, and all thanks to you. You who are now sick in wonder at what will come. Tell me, did you really think Garofin would have met you here? Did you really think he would have taken you back after all that you have done? Not only to me, his brother, but to all of us? You betrayed us, Jalen. But I shall tell you this, my time has come. I will destroy all that you love. I will crush those dreams of reunion. I will, sweet sister, and I will fucking destroy all that you love. And here I shall begin. And then I get done and I'm like, what's that? What is that? Is that part of the Harius Codex? Is that a memory? Is that some kind of internal thing that I'm not really handling and it came out in the writing? Those are words, those are letters. Like I put them together and then they formed a somewhat coherent idea there, as you can hear, but at the same time it's like, what the fuck was that about? Is that me? What do I do now? And I try to continue it. I try to work through it. And I'd say, I don't know. And all of a sudden, you're watching on YouTube the Harius Codex. You're watching the Forgotten series. And you're hearing me just channeling something the fuck out and going, I don't even know what's happening here. I'm going to keep going and see where this takes me. And you get to see that and be a part of that, which is pretty crazy, you know? You get to be on the journey with someone else that you don't even fucking know. You just see me sitting here. Because I'm choosing to use words, and as I'm using them, you can coherently understand it because those are all English. So like, okay, we can I kind of understand what's going on here. I don't understand it, but I know those words. If I try hard enough, I can seek. And I'm opening a door for interpretation. I'm giving you the opportunity to interpret, as I do in these videos, what the fuck's happening inside of me that you can make up what you think it is. How insane is that? It's no different than what Gibbon tried, or Xenophon here, or the various writers of the Mabinogi, or Apollonius of Rhodes. You have the opportunity to try to uncover what the fuck's going on in your own way through another. That, my friend, is the creation of a new island. And here we go. Well, I will call this one Words, the New Island, or something along those lines, and call it from here. But I don't know, man. I'm on my way. We'll see where I go. But I will see you in the next one.